Thank you, Senator Xenophon.
Ms Tabe, I have a Parliament complaint about land and hold short operations at Melbourne. My question is, what risk assessment did AirServices undertake when it decided to seek CASA dispensation from the requirements of AIP, the Aeronautical Information Package 1.1 to 10, paragraph 4.5, in order to nominate arrivals into Melbourne runways that exceeded 20 knots crosswind or 5 knots downwind? And I'm happy for you to take that on notice.
Senator, thank you for the question, and we'll take that on notice.
Can AirServices? Well, no, I'm just. But it is something that you can provide fairly promptly because it is an issue of quite significant concern. What can AirServices provide a copy of the risk assessment it undertook using its safety management system to ascertain that not complying with AIP en route 1.1 to 10, paragraph 4.5, or any other AIP aspects was safe?
We can table it. Yeah.
Well, did you undertake a risk assessment? Maybe you can tell me that and go into more details later.
Senator, I'm not aware of that exact detail of that complaint made by that
But you're aware of the
pilot,
AIP?
So, yes.
Okay, and the AIP is pretty important in the scheme of things.
Yes.
And if you're going to seek dispensation from AIP, presumably you would take a risk. You would undertake a risk assessment. And
develop a safety case. Yes.
Okay, so you'll let us know fairly urgently in respect to that. My next question goes to answers to questions I noticed that I put at budget estimates on severity definition airways system issues, where you describe from severity 1 to severity 5. Can you just let me know that in respect of the definition of the categorisation of a severity of an incident, who determines that? And again, I'm happy to take this on notice. To what extent?
Stop asking the questions there.
To what extent can you advise if there is any independent assessment of the definition of an incident as to whether it's from severity 1 to severity 5?
Senator, we have definitions in our processes regarding that. I might just ask the Executive General Manager, Projects and Engineering, just to talk through that. Otherwise, we can take that on notice. It's.
I guess what I want to know is, has it been subject to any independent audit or assessment?
So maybe if I can, Senator Greg Hood, Executive General Manager, Air Traffic Control. So if it's an incident that's either a pilot attributed or air traffic control attributed, the air traffic controllers don't actually apportion that risk assessment. It goes to the Safety, Environment and Assurance branch, where they review the incident and they then assign the risk rating to that.
Senator, can I just clarify, please? You're referring to the
this relates to INTAS.
Yes, the integrated tower automation suite that we talked about.
Yes.
Yes,
it's in the context of INTAS.
Yes, thank you.
Because my time is up, I'm happy for the rest to be taken on notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Chair. Ms Dave, when did Civil Aviation Regulation 139 subpart H come into effect?
Sorry, Senator, I don't know that.
Okay, well, it precipitated some $96.3 million worth of expenditure on regional airports from Port Hedland to Da Vinci, Coffs Harbour, Ballina, Gladstone, Newman.
Yes,
so
Senator.
My understanding is it relates to fire and rescue.
That's right, Senator. That, if I'm correct, that's referring to the requirement that once there's more than 350,000 passenger movements, then we are required under the regulations to provide a aviation rescue fire service.
So I just want to get a time point. When did you make the decision to spend $96.3 million at these airports?
Each of those decisions around those airports were separate, and it's as soon as the trigger is reached, we, under the regulations, have 12 months to provide that service. Okay. So it comes from when that figure is reached, 350,000. So that number was reached at different times at each of those locations.
Okay, so why was none of this expenditure referred to the Public Works Committee as medium or proper works, so to speak?
Well, each of those fire stations that you're talking about were individual projects, and in terms of the major projects, we have referred. But following a question from Senator Searle from the last estimates, we did look at where we have referred major projects to the Parliamentary Works Committee. But when I asked to look a bit deeper in terms of our obligations around medium works, which is between $2 and $15 million, there are a number of projects that we did omit to refer to the Parliamentary Works Committee. Since then, I have met with the chair of the Parliamentary Works Committee, Mrs Andrews, to apologise for that oversight, and I've since written to her outlining those projects that should have been referred for noting. And I might say that I will be appearing before the Parliamentary Works Committee on the 30th of October.
That's us. We're
Okay.
going to rewrite the rule book, don't worry.
So,
I
so
wanted
to
be
be
honest, they wouldn't let me.
to be perfectly clear, there have been 11 projects in excess of $2 million, some up to $14.7 million, with interim works of 5.4, which haven't been referred under the due processes, Mr Murdoch, that binds this organisation? Are you responsible for the governance of AirServices Australia?
No, Senator. The governance of the organisation rests with the board and the CEO, and they are accountable to the Minister.
So where do they get their money from?
They are funded from industry charges.
Which is passed on to us travelling public, basically, as airfares.
That's correct.
So
The organisation is industry funded.
a government business enterprise which doesn't know the rules in accordance with the Public Works Committee, which is the longest standing committee of the Federal Parliament.
I think the Chief Executive...
And it's nothing to do with you. Is that what you're telling me?
Senator, the Chief Executive, I think, has outlined to you the way in which this has been identified and the rectification steps taken. I don't think I can add any further to that.
Okay.
Because what you could say is that it's misled the Parliament. The
We've
method
seen
used.
similar projects
We're on
which have been referred as $90 million projects, not broken up into $5 million interim, $14.7 million permanent, and 13s, 10s. I mean, Defence do it all the time. They'll do something around Australia on all their bases. They'll refer the whole project to us at $100 million. In aggregate, it's 100. It might be 6 million here, 5 million there, 10 million elsewhere. This is a really important issue that the scrutiny of the Parliament, as you've walked around it, you've walked away from it, and you say, fair enough, I'll say I'm sorry and it's all good and forgotten. Is that your answer, basically?
Well, Senator, as I said, it was an oversight and...
An oversight? It's a $96.3 million oversight.
that in terms
I'd
of
like
each
to
of
be
the...
able to oversight $96 million and forget about it.
In terms of our capital program, as you know, it's funded through the revenue that we derive from the airlines. And in terms of scrutiny of our capital program...
Which is paid by the travelling public.
as the airlines pass it on, of course. But the capital program is reviewed by the ACCC. It's reviewed by industry, certainly quarterly through the Pricing Consultative Committee. The capital program is heavily scrutinised by our board, and for example, any expenditure over $5 million has to be reported to the board. Anything over $10 million...
And it has to go towards the Public Works Committee if it's between 2 and 15.
That's right,
That's
Senator.
the big step that you've left out.
That's
And you just
right.
go and spend the money without following the due process. That's extraordinary.
So since I've realised this oversight, as I
How long have you
said...
been in the role with...
2 years,
2
Senator.
years.
Thank you.
Did someone get the bullet?
No, Senator. As I said, we've reviewed our processes and reviewed the project initiation documents to make sure that this step is included. And as I said, I have written to Mrs Andrews, the Chair of the Parliamentary Works Committee, with the detail of those projects, and we will be appearing before the committee.
I have another 18 questions to put on notice to you relating around the decision-making process of your organisation, when the board considered, what it considered, how it approved it, how did it miss out the step of PwC?
Yes, Senator.
And is there any scrutiny by finance of your expenditure?
No, through the pricing arrangements, there is, through the ACCC. But in terms of finance, Department of Finance, we don't have to seek approval
So-
because it's all revenue derived from airline charges, Senator. It's not government appropriation.
Exactly. Well,
We-
look, it's quite astounding that an organisation as successful as yourself, that does such great work, can omit a really simple, prudent step in validating the good work that you do. And it is, I'm sure the Public Works Committee Chair has made the view very clear to you. But there are two other members of that committee here today that have got a very strong view that this is really strange and inappropriate. And if you've only been there for 2 years, it opens the gate up to what happened in the 10 years before you. Thank you.